The thing that I love that you do is you take all these different and seemingly disparate approaches, like gene keys, human design, right? And then combine it with zodiac and possibly even numerology. And now I also use cardiology to go on top of that. It's like, wow.
But then the true question is, who can I become? And that's what unlocks like your purpose, and just like a big bang, you just expand and express outwards who you are. And it's kind of like this, as you do that, it's like it cracks, you know, the hardness of like what living in this world does to us, and it frees us to truly be who we came to be. It's just this amazing energetic like release that can feel so cleansing and like freeing, because you don't have to be all these things that you were told that you're supposed to be.
Lots of people think that I have to accomplish this and then I'll be worthy, then I'll be good enough. No. You're good enough just because you were born. Jai Gobind, what a pleasure to have you here on Think Tank. Super excited. I learned about your work when you decided, I guess, to go out on a limb and to do a zodiac, gene keys, and human design reading on me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's a pretty good way to get noticed, because I watched it. And not only did I watch it once, I thought it was so well done. I probably watched it like 20 or 30 times.
That's amazing. I remember that.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself through this, and it was super valuable. And I really want to thank you. And so when I got so deep into it, I was like, I've got to get her on a Think Tank episode so people can understand the thing that I love that you do is you take all these different and seemingly disparate approaches, like gene keys, human design, right? And then combine it with, you know, even, with zodiac and possibly even numerology. And now I also use cardiology to go on top of that. It's like, wow, when you have all of these different facets, you can actually piece together a whole storyline of what is reality. And I think it's so powerful. It's like the polymathy of the esoteric.
Oh, I love that.
And so I was thinking, do you also use like tarot and everything? So I thought, I've got to get her on to talk about this, because when you realize that we live in a matrix of mind, then all of this stuff becomes highly relevant, because it informs your belief system that becomes your reality.
Yeah. Yes. No, 100% I agree. And I remember choosing you to do that video because I was so inspired by all of the things that I watched. I watched your show Codex. I mean, I was just, you know, ever since I was little, I have loved everything Egypt. I've been drawn to everything Egypt. And then the way that the work that you did and that you do was like mind blowing to me. And when we were choosing somebody to do the show on, I was like, we got to do Robert Grant. I was like, we got to do Robert Grant. And then it was so crazy because I had that thought. And then randomly on Instagram, you posted your chart and you said something about the Orion constellation, something like that. And I was like, oh, there's his time. And then I was like, all right, we're done. We're done. I was like, we're doing the show. Because once I had birth, I was like, yes. And it was
so
amazing.
I posted something with my birth on it. It's so funny because for a long time, I mean, there's this, I don't know how I even got on this, but there's this page on the internet called famousbirthdays.com. And so I went on there once and someone said, hey, your birthday's on there. And I got a gift on like the wrong day of the year. So I was like, what? And they wrote on there as well, May 17th. I was like, my birthday's May 16th. And so I went on to famousbirthdays.com and I was like, damn, like they've got my date wrong. So it was like May 17th. So I was getting all kinds of people doing, you know, trying to figure out my, you know, zodiac stuff and everything from the wrong date. And so I'm like, okay, finally I tolerated it for like 2 or 3 years. And then I was like, I just got to reach out to them. And I did. I reached out. I'm like, my birthday is May 16th. They're like, oh, we're so sorry. I said, thank you. And they fixed it. But in the meantime, since then, I've gotten, you know, I posted it a few times, and it's actually been valuable because as soon as I post the time and everything, people will literally go and do my zodiac, and they'll do all the current transits and everything. So it's like super awesome.
Get all these free readings.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I was totally inspired, and it was amazing to look at your chart and how much it resonated and it confirmed and it showed all of the things that make you who you are. And what I saw in your chart, in comparing all of the systems that you're talking about.
Hi, I'm Robert Edward Grant. I invite you to explore my transformative books, Philomath and Polymath, each designed to expand your understanding of the world and ourselves. In Philomath, which means lover of learning, discover how mathematics weaves together physics, music, and prime number theory, revealing the universe's interconnected nature. It's more than a book, it's an enlightening voyage. Polymath builds on Philomath's insights, exploring the genius of thinkers like Pythagoras and Da Vinci, who used geometry to revolutionize science, art, and governance. Rediscover the polymathic roots that spark past ages of enlightenment. Join me on this journey as well. Visit robertedwardgrant.com to get your copies today. Let's foster a new era of enlightenment and collaboration for a brighter future.
Is how much you are fully living in your mission, in your design. So it was just like mind blowing to see that. And I saw some, powerful connections to the work that you do, like the type of things, the themes. So yes, I love using all of the systems because it has given me the ability to get that bigger picture, bigger perspective. And I didn't start off that way. I learned astrology, and I started to, I took classes. I kept watching astrology videos, and I have a favorite astrologer. And I just kind of was engulfed in the whole astrology world. And I knew from the moment that I was like, I decided I was going to be an astrologer, I just like dove in, and that's what I do. So eventually I discovered the gene keys, and then that blew my mind. And the last thing that I learned was the human design. And then something happened where I was like looking at these three things as three kind of separate systems, and it clicked in my mind. And I don't know how I figured it out. I saw it somewhere that they're all based off your astrological natal chart. All of them. So I was like, wait, what? And that's when I was like, okay. And I started to do the little crazy mind game, like, okay, where's the sun over here in human design? Where's the sun over here? Where's it over there? And then because I had studied astrology first, it gave me the foundation to be able to, I don't know, it just added this whole other flavor to looking at the gene keys and human design. And I was like, all three of them, they're very different. You can get very different information from all three of them. But if you use them all together, oh my God, it like can literally quantum leap you in self-understanding.
So let's unpack that for a moment. So why is it that they're all so perfect? Because I'm sure you could overlay, like I said, cardology, which is a 52 card playing deck, which is also crazy powerful. The way I was introduced to that was by, of all people, Katy Perry.
I love that.
Katy Perry is into this cardology stuff, and she did a reading on me.
Oh my God.
I had dinner with her a few years ago. And, the whole thing got recorded and everything. It was pretty epic. She's a big fan of Codex. And so she reached out, asked me to have dinner and with her in Orlando. And that was like bizarre, right? I mean, I was sitting there with Susie, and this was back in I guess it was 22. Yeah, 22. I was, it seems about 2.5 years ago. And we're in Santa Barbara meeting them. And she walks up to me, and it's Katy Perry, right? And she's like, Robert, I'm your hugest fan. And she gave me this big hug. I was like, what is going on with this? This is so wild. And she had done this whole reading in cardology on me, and she did the whole thing in front of me. And I was like blown away. And that's when I realized that I was 3 of diamonds.
Right.
And this guy, I can't remember his name, the guy that just did another reading on me, I sent it to you.
Yes, I watched it.
And it was more on the cardology thing. It was a trip. It was like,
that was crazy.
What in the heck, right? And he's from it's a group, that's just called, the title of it is Robert Edward Grant Decoded. And it is wild. It's like, geez, there's so many crazy things inside of it.
Well, I remember, yes, and I remember specifically a couple of numbers that he brought up, 29 and 51 are actually also in your gene keys. And he was not talking about gene keys. So I was like,
no, not at all.
Happening right now.
Not at all. And gene keys is like this divinely inspired thing too. Like I just got back, I was in London. I spent the weekend with Richard Rudd at the Gene Keys London, live in London.
Love that.
And it was amazing. And I have to say, it was so consistent with what I just had been doing. I was in Peru. We did this Merkaba activation. It was a rainbow body activation at the top of Ollantaytambo. Tambo. And then we come out of this prayer. And while this whole thing is happening, there's the triple rainbow on top of us. We're like, how did this happen? And I got this direction to put everyone in the shape of a Merkaba on the top of the hill. And then literally, and we're talking about the new DNA activation and all this stuff. And then right as all this is going down, Richard is in the final stages of planning his conference that was in London. And the big announcement in London was to announce the Star Pearl, right? Which is the Merkaba.
I know. Yes.
And it's all about throat chakra, the highest level of throat chakra, the Hierophant stage. And we were at the thing in London, no joke. And he was talking about this release of this new gene keys, the top, the last 3 gene keys that are so far. There's going to be more still. And he says, he's talking to one of the guys who's one of the facilitators. He's one of the facilitators for the Venus sequence. And his name is Elijah. And so he says, Elijah, can you do this? We're talking about the Merkaba. And I was like, immediately I get this hit. It's like, no, this is Ezekiel's dream from the Bible, right? That talks about Elijah and the return. So the prophet Elijah, and I was like, whoa, getting this shing. So I'm there just like I'm just a pedestrian attending his weekend. I thought I was going to kind of go unnoticed and everything. That definitely didn't happen. But like I said, I kind of stopped. I said, hey, Richard. And he's like, yeah. And I said, can I ask a question? He said, sure. And I said, you just said Elijah, and I heard Elijah the prophet right after this. And he was like, what? And I go, what you've basically just described is exactly fulfillment of prophecy in the Bible. And this is the chariot, the Merkaba.
Wow.
Of transcendence. And that's what the whole Pearl sequence is. It's about the transcendence. And that's why he did everything in blue, because it's the throat chakra. And that's the Metathrone. The Metatron means the throne beyond.
Yeah. Wow. That everything that's happening right now, all these discoveries that are like happening, they're taking on this like quantum expansiveness. It's like it's unstoppable fire that's like just like spreading throughout the world right now. The awareness, the consciousness, the people hearing things that normally would be like super occult and only a few people will like learn. Now everyone's hearing about it. I think it's this freaking epic phenomenon. I love it because it's like, I feel like we've been waiting for this, There's
no doubt. I mean, look, I just posted a video of the number of UFO sightings and UAP sightings, and just in the last 24 hours, it's insane.
Yeah, I saw that.
So what's going on?
I don't know.
It's not just the drones and all this other stuff. The reason why we've got such a massive increase in the number of UFO sightings and everything is because we are going through a rapid expansion of consciousness. This is the global awakening. The extraterrestrials and the intraterrestrials have been here all along, but only the people of higher consciousness have been able to perceive them. We've just had a massive expansion of consciousness. It's us that's changing, and now we can see and perceive more.
Yes. 100%. I think you were talking about that earlier in the Instagram live that I watched.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I remember thinking it's that you said something about the pyramids, that now you're seeing light, like kind of like a rainbow light around them. And the thought that I had when you said that was like, oh my God, it's like you're starting to see. And the next thought was, it's always been there. We just haven't been able to see it, because you have to be like at the right frequency, vibration to be able to see things. Yeah.
Which is kind of what, if we look at zodiac and astrology and numerology and all this, it's like this hidden matrix of information. I see it as like the operator's manual for living life in the matrix, and that they're all interconnected, but we just don't see the connection points because it requires a lot of ability related to pattern recognition to see how they're all connected. They're all super connected. And if we could see the whole thing, we would realize these are all just fragments of a larger system that is going to become more and more advanced and more complex for us. And with the release of new aspects of it as well, this becomes the fifth dimensional understanding awareness of the self. This will be such an important aspect of knowing ourselves.
I love that. Yeah. And so for the three systems that we're talking about that I use, you have astrology has been here the longest. Then came human design, Ra-Uruhu. He channeled it. Did you know he channeled it in Ibiza?
In Ibiza. Yeah, I know.
Right? Like, yeah, okay. And then Richard Rudd, what I know is that he used to study with Ra-Uruhu. And then
he also did it in Ibiza.
And he had his own vision channeling experience that channeled the gene keys.
Yep.
So they're all interconnected, just, by way of all of the ways that they're like working together, but then a new thing comes out, and then inspirations finds its way through this person, and then it finds its way through this person, but they are all kind of pieces of the same, like you said, these like kind of fractals. So to me, the astrology is the one that helps you understand, in its own language, your purpose, your path, your personality, the things that are a huge part of that make you who you are. And then you get to the human design, and you have the I feel like human design brings up a more masculine perspective, because it is more direct. It tells you the main things are your strategy and your authority. And those things are like, if you just follow those two things, like you may not ever learn more than just your strategy and your authority in your human design chart. You're going to be good, because you're going to start to realign your life in the right direction. And when we follow our strategy and authority, it takes us into more of expressing our unique design and less of the conditioning, which is all the things that we were kind of layered on us as we were growing up by the people that we learned from, like more specifically like our parents, but other adults. We just get conditioned through life. And the whole thing about human design is, once you come into the awareness of your human design, that's where you start the deconditioning process. And then you get the gene keys, which is the most beautiful, like to me, expression of the sacred divine feminine, because it's all about contemplation and just sitting with it. It's like kind of like sitting in the darkness with it, sitting in the void and just feeling for the information and like connecting to the information in this much more ethereal, meditative way, which to me is much more feminine. So it makes perfect sense that you would bring all three together to give you a bigger perspective on all the ways that make you unique and make you who you are. And if you understand how to transmute your shadows into gifts from the gene key, if you understand all of the spheres of the gene key, and then you start to use your strategy and authority in life to make the important decisions. And if you know from your natal chart, your astrology chart, like North Node, South Node, where you're going, where you came from, what are the gifts that you came here to share with the world, and what is the journey, the archetypal journey that you chose to express in this lifetime. I mean, it's phenomenal what it can give you, putting all of them together.
Yep, absolutely. It's so powerful. So how many people do you know are kind of doing all of these together type analyses?
Well, I actually run a program called the Moon Goddess Training. It's a year-long program, and it's got 3 levels. Essentially, it's a program to learn how to read the Akashic records, but it didn't start that way. It started as a program to help women find empowerment within themselves. But then it just quantum leaped like everything else that's been happening. And I was like, oh, I got to teach them astrology. Oh, I got to teach them the gene keys. Oh, I got to bring in human design. And I just kept adding and adding and adding. So the women that I teach that take the course are doing this. And that's the people that I know that are doing this process because I teach it. I don't know that I'm sure there are a lot of people that look at different systems. But like I said, the people that I teach, I know are definitely using all 3 of them, connecting the dots between all 3 of them. I hope that there's more people doing this because it's like, I feel like it would be so helpful. Sometimes the gene keys are going to speak to you more. Sometimes the human design is what you need to like rely on in that moment. Sometimes it's your astrology, like my progressions. So it's just like different tools in the toolbox, and one of them will speak more to you than the other at different times in your life when you're going through these powerful transitions.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. I think that as I look at the value benefit of human design, I'd say I've had a long relationship with the zodiac.
Yeah.
I'm now starting to understand more of the specific nuances, and that is going to the next level of 5th dimension as well, which is the deacon. So breaking it down so that Taurus and every one of the, the normal signs within the zodiac, there are 12, but actually that also is going to be moving more towards 14.
Right.
So this is the Ophiuchus is the 13th, and the 14th is Orion. Orion sits just below the plane of the ecliptic, and Ophiuchus sits just above the plane of the ecliptic. We need to look at them as the same person. Just one is the shadow of the other. And that's one of the things we see also in the zodiac. For example, if you have Libra, if that's your persona, right, that's your sun sign, you will have your shadow that will end up having its opposite sign. Right? So the opposite of Libra is going to be Aries. So this is how, like, for example, I'm a Taurus in my sun sign, but my opposite sign is Scorpio. So people, whenever I'm in a place of kind of, as we would describe in the shadow, right, of one of the, gene keys, you have the shadow, you have the gift, and then you have the city, right, where it's sort of transcendent. Above the gift turns the shadow into a transcendence, which becomes the city. This aspect of the shadow is what people will see in me. They'll see, on the outward sense, he's a Taurus, but they could be afraid that I'm going to sting them. So this is all part and parcel of understanding the nuances that are within the zodiac, and they're very profound. I mean, very, very profound stuff. And did you hear the explanation I gave also on sidereal versus tropical?
I've heard you speak about it, but share it again.
I did it in the live this morning.
No, I didn't hear that this morning.
Where I talked about, okay, so I talked about how until you understand and become aware, you just said something I thought was very profound, talking about the human design, which human design is really telling you what your proclivities are, what your tendencies are, where you're going to be looking for partnership and to close up things that are, if they're not defined, or if they are defined, it has certain aspects that then you will have more proclivities toward. But Gene Keys to me is more about your purpose and your mission and what you're here to accomplish and do. and the path that you're going to take along that journey. So it's kind of like your personal aspect of the hero's journey. That's how I see gene keys. And I wouldn't consider myself an expert on either. I'm a student of them. But what I've also noticed is that once I became aware of what the North Node is for myself, and I started really integrating that, then that brought a higher degree of authenticity into my existence. So that's what I transited from being the pharmaceutical CEO to becoming more of a wisdom teacher, which is the transfer of Virgo to Pisces in the world of like the South Node movement towards the North Node.
Right.
So it's true to form. But what I also noticed was that we go forward already in precession of equinox, and that's why we go from Aquarius becomes Pisces becomes Aries, and Aries becomes Taurus, and Taurus becomes Gemini, and Gemini becomes Cancer, and then Leo. But actually, if we got rid of our watches and our clocks, and we just looked at the stars in the sky, what we're transiting through, we would know already that time goes both forward and backwards. Because as we move forward, it's like a Mobius strip, right? As the Mobius strip goes like this, and then twist, it comes back around like this, and then twist again, it comes back around again. What's happening is in the sky, on a month-to-month basis, we go through that exact procession of equinox that I just read off. But then also, when we're going to look at it from a larger 24,000-year cycle perspective, then you realize, wait, it's actually going backwards. So that's why we just spent 2,000 years in the age of Pisces, and now we're in Aquarius. And so what people that are big studiers and really strongly oriented around Vedic and sidereal, which is more, there's 24 degrees difference than tropical. And that 24 degrees as well becomes something that's very 24, that is very much oriented around divinity. Why divinity? Well, because the whole of space-time is founded on this one geometric form, which has 24 edges. And this is called a cuboctahedron. And if I looked at it from this as a flat object, right, you would see it's making a hexagon. So it's basically just a cube with the center points defining, these truncations off of it. And the Merkaba, Metatron's cube, all of this stuff is related to that shape. So what I realized through all of this, right, is that as we are going to become aware of our North Node, until that moment in time, we are very much in our tropical placements. Tropical is very accurate. Once we start to move into our North Node and we have the awareness, then it shifts so that our Vedic placements become more salient to us in our lives than our tropical. You may not have known this. This is something that I got as a download probably 3 years ago. Now, at the same time, in the precession of equinox, the opposite happens. So until you become aware of your North Node, your more salient things in your precession, which none of us live 24,000 years, so we don't really notice it so much. Remember, in the procession, 1 day equals 1 degree. And we have a 365-day calendar because that represents the masculine side of the calendar. That's the sun. But the feminine side, the moon, is a 354-day calendar for 354.6 and using leap years. And for the sun calendar is 365 with the leap year, 0.4. You add those two together, you have exactly 720. You divide them by 2, you have 360-day calendars.
Right.
So think of them, there's the sun and the moon as like the two backbone on DNA. So in order to find exactly the right place for which to cut the year off, you actually have to cut it off at the mean value of the two, at 360. That's why the Egyptians and the Sumerians used 360-day calendars. We just have not been recognizing the feminine calendar.
Right. The sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine.
That's right. The two have to be seen together. So then on the masculine calendar, what happens is, we have to have 5 extra days. And this is where the moon is supposed to catch up. Well, during that period of time is when Sirius goes under the horizon and then comes back up again and gets resurrected, right around the 1st. So this is the way we've dealt with it. But actually, you could say we've just ignored the feminine. We've ignored the moon's role in the calendar.
That's pretty obvious.
So that means that we should have, some people are advocates for saying, no, we should have 13 months, and the 13 months should have 28 days each, right? Like the Jewish calendars had. But actually, we have a 360-day year with 5 days of catch-up. So if we were to do it like the Egyptians, then we would have decans, and we would have 10-day periods of time that represent each of the constellations that are the subsets or subconstellations of each of the zodiac 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, in Taurus, you have Auriga, Eridanus, and Orion.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to be born in the week of Orion. And I happen to be born in the one day that would automatically become the 3 of diamonds in cardiology.
Right.
Because there's 52 playing cards, and the period of time that is Orion is only 10 days long.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I ended up at exactly the 137th day of the year on the leap year and the 3 of diamonds is telling me that the only way that could have happened is if I was born exactly on May 16th.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3 of diamonds becomes very symbolic for Orion.
Right. Yeah.
So it definitely has deep symbolism. And so does the 7 of hearts, because that's my other placement in cardiology. So when we, and it's written on the Vitruvian Man, there's a 7 right over his heart. It's right in there.
Mm-hmm.
And he has 3 diamonds in his abdomen that are the belt stars of Orion.
Right.
And they represent the 3 pyramids on Giza Plateau. Everything is planned in advance. We just are not aware of it because we think it's all separate from us, but it's not.
Right.
So what happens when we go into our North Node, then your precession of equinox is more appropriately moved to the tropical. That's why all the people that are in Vedic and they say, oh, we still have 500 years before you go to the age of Aquarius. That's not correct. We're already in the age of Aquarius now.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so they're making their point scientifically saying, hey, we're on right now. We would be in, we're definitely now in Sagittarius, right? Because we finished Ophiuchus.
Mm-hmm.
But the true sidereal chart would tell you, okay, we should be on this sidereal thing. But for the way that the system works, because of mass time dilation, it's not a 26,000 year cycle, it's a 24,000 year cycle, because half of it is 11,000 years. The other half of it is 12,960 years. Because as we get closer to our sister star Sirius, we have mass time dilation and time speeds up.
Right.
Like a slingshot, like this. So the point is that once you get aware of your North Node, you move from tropical into Vedic on the processional basis. And once that transition happens, you move from Vedic into tropical on the precessional basis.
That is so fascinating. I mean, when I hear you say and talk about this, it's like my crazy Gemini mind, I have so much Gemini in my chart, wants to go into that rabbit hole and look at it and be like, okay, let me see. Like I want to see it. I want to see it play out in my own life. So, I mean, that's something that I'm going to have to go into that rabbit hole.
Here's the beauty.
Fascinating.
The beauty of it. Everyone is arguing and saying, no, it's tropical. No, it's sidereal. No, it's tropical. No, it's sidereal. Both are right.
Both. Right. And it's the same thing that we're talking about. We're like, it's not just jinkies. It's not just, human design. It's all of them. It's all of them together because they all are pieces of us. Just like the
facets.
Yeah.
There are no facts in this world, only facets.
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating. I remember, the connection to Orion. I feel like that has been really blown up too lately. When I was little, so I'm from Argentina. I was born in Argentina, and I don't know why I have these sort of selective memories, because the move from Argentina to the United States was very traumatic. And so I have blocks, right? Memory blocks about my life in Argentina. But one of the things that I remember is my dad pointing up at Orion's belt. And in Argentina, we don't call it Orion's belt, we call it Las Tres Marias. And I remember looking up and him being like, "Ahí están las Tres Marias." And it just like, in my mind.
Three Marias.
Mm-hmm. That's what they call it in Argentina. I know. That's another. You could take that.
Las Tres Marias. And so, but that's also the three wise men. It's also the three kings from the east.
Right.
Holding and carrying with them gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Yes. And in Argentina, they celebrate the day of the three kings. That's when you get the gifts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now where was your family from before they were in Argentina? Are they from there originally?
Well, ancestry, England. So my dad's family came from England, and my mom's part of it from Bolivia. And then there's also, it's like a mixture of, there's also Spain. So Europe and then Argentina, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then later on in life, of course, that's just things that get imprinted, when you're little. Later on in life, I find out too, in the tropical chart, I have a lot of Orion placements too. I have Sun Gemini, Venus Gemini, North Node Gemini, Chiron in Gemini, and I'm a Gemini rising. And all of those planets are in my 12th house, which is the house of spirituality. So my whole experience here is to literally get lost in the spiritual and stop trying to control everything. And because it's in my South Node is in my 6th house of that Virgo energy. And so it's about, and then North Node in the 12th would be Pisces too. So it's kind of like you have North Node.
You have to let go. You got to let go of the mental.
Yes. And it's weird because, and in my chart, I have South Node Ophiuchus, North Node Orion, basically. That's the dynamic that's going on in my chart too. So my life, it's crazy. I've been pulling from that wisdom, because that Sagittarius is the wisdom, the one that goes on an adventure in a past life, goes to the cave, learns, becomes enlightened, and then comes back to the people, which is the Gemini, and shares the story. So in this lifetime, I'm supposed to talk. I'm supposed to share. In my human design, I'm a mental projector, which is actually pretty rare. I only have 2 defined centers, my ajna and my throat, and that's it. So I am like this, I feel like a leaf sometimes floating. And when I connect with people, what projectors are able to do is like tap into their energy, absorb their energy, and like see where there's missing links or things that need to be that could be more efficient. And then when they're invited to share what they see and feel, then it's received. Otherwise, if you're a projector and you're like blurting things out about people, personal stuff that you're feeling all the time, it's like it's not going to be received well. So I think projectors have a little bit of a hard time learning that lesson. But the good dynamic is generators and manifesting generators with projectors, where they find a connection that is harmonic and that works, and that the projector will be seen and heard.
Mm-hmm.
But, so it's kind of like my teacher, my human design teacher, he called the mental projectors like this satellite. It's like tuning into
totally,
and like just like channeling it through. So
yep.
Yeah. And then the connection, to finish that whole connection about the Orion, I got two dogs just recently, a couple years ago. And
what kind of dog?
They are standard poodles. And guess what? They are twins. They're twins. They were born in the same sack. And I named the boy Horus and I named the girl Mintaka. And that's
Mintaka. Wow. Okay. Mintaka is one of the pyramids. It's one of the one of the stars in the belt of
know,
Orion.
this is like the obsession. Like you just, when you feel the connection in your body, like mind, spirit is like, it just, you breathe it and you live it. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things that can happen when you learn your design. You bring your awareness to it and you open yourself up to learn, what is my potential? What is, like, what could I become? You know, I remember this. I love Matthias. I have studied with him probably more. He doesn't even know who I am, but I took his classes.
I told him about you. I talked about you with him.
That's so cool. I love that. I would love to meet him one day. But so I use a lot of his.
I will arrange that for you.
I'll
I'll definitely arrange it. We'll do an introductory. You should do you already did it. He just doesn't. I don't think he hasn't seen it. You know, he hasn't seen the one that you did on him.
Well, he's a manifester, and that's a very different energy. Manifestors are in their own world. They're like the bowling ball that is just on a mission. I will not be distracted. And as long as they inform, like, here's where I'm going to go next. This is what I'm going to do next. They're like, they'll throw the pings out of the way and then just whew. So they have a closed and repelling aura. And so what that means, it's like, they're just super focused on what they're here to do in a different way than we all are, but in a different way, in a very specific way. So I could see how when the right time comes, he'll be, maybe he'll be, inspired to watch the video. Maybe not. He probably doesn't even need to watch the video. That's what I mean. It's like that manifestor energy is just, but I remember one thing that he said about the story that they used to tell the kids in ancient Atlantis about the story of creation, and that in the beginning was this being that was sleeping and breathing. And one day he opened his eyes and he asked, who am I first? Mm-hmm. And then who can I become? And that's when the Big Bang happened. And that is how I feel about when we become aware of all of these, systems, and we open our eyes, we wake up like, who am I? And then we understand it. But then the true question is, who can I become? And that's what unlocks like your purpose. And just like a Big Bang, you just expand and express outwards who you are. And it's kind of like this, as you do that, it's like it cracks, the hardness of like what living in this world does to us. And it frees us to truly be who we came to be. And that's like the most fascinating thing for me. That's what happened to me. It was like, I saw who I was in my astrology, my human design, and my gene keys. And I was like, what the heck? And then it was like, oh my God, if I can truly like decondition all these like parts of myself that are not me, who can I become? And like, it's just this amazing energetic like release that can feel so cleansing and like freeing, because you don't have to be all these things that you were told that you're supposed to be, It's
all a gift. I mean, that's the thing that I've come to the realization of, that the whole reason for being here is to learn love and how to be loved. And we can only do that when we get to our extreme highest level of authenticity. Mm. And the way that you get to authenticity is by learning how to fall in love with yourself. Therefore, you fall in love with the world around you. Yes. Because the world around you is just your you inverse. And the way that I started really getting there is by understanding that all of these things in my zodiac, in my gene keys, in my human design are making the tapestry of me, this incredible mosaic that I have tried to change and make better. And like, oh, I don't like this aspect of myself, so let's get rid of that. And I don't like that aspect of myself, so let's get rid of that. And then it just shows up, those traits show up in the world around me. And I don't know what to deal with them, how to deal with them. Because I'm like, shit, now it's all around me. I'm surrounded by assholes. Oh, I'm the asshole. Because assholes resonate at the frequency of asshole.
You have to love.
And then they attract assholes. Right. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So then I realized all of this stuff, and I was like, wait. So instead of fighting these characteristics that I am, because I have some preconceived notion of what it means to be me and how that clearly can't be good enough. There's a missing one, as Matthias puts it. Then I finally started learning how to just accept who I am, play to my strengths, and be open and aware of my areas of challenge.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly.
Which is why Matthias and I work together so freaking well. Because I get things in the form of math and manifestation of like reality. My job is to bring things from an ethereal plane into existence.
Mm-hmm.
He's constantly working in the etheric.
Yes.
He's even doing like surgery of the etheric all the time, right? All the time. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? You know, sometimes I'm like, what is he doing?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need to understand it. Now, since I grew a goatee, everyone's like, you look like Matthias's older brother now. What the fuck?
It looks good on you.
Yes, it's funny. So, and I was just with him last week, but the point is this, that he has his strengths, I have mine. One of his strengths was not math, and so he was freaked out. He asked his guys, he's like, do I have to learn all this math to get really good at this? They're like, no, don't worry. Someone's going to come along and help you with that. You don't need to be good at that. So he brings to the table all this like wild channeling stuff that is, I got to say, freaking profound, because last week I was with him and literally he was channeling stuff that nobody in the world knew that related to one math constant that relates to time that I had discovered. And I didn't even put it in my book correctly. I noticed there's an error on it, but it's derived as Euler over the golden ratio. And I knew that it's a time constant because it's also equal to 7 times 24. So 24/7. And here I was that day that I discovered this. I'm wearing a t-shirt that said 24 and it had a heptagon around it. 24 in the center. It was like 24/7. It was called the musical wave of time. So he's sitting here channeling this stuff and he's saying, the answer is, and he starts rattling off this number. And I'm like, this is the one constant that I named after myself. I've discovered more than 40 new constants because I discovered the system of how nature makes constants. It's based on like dropping 2 pebbles in a still pond and how the ripples of water intersect each other. Mm-hmm. And then they create this interference pattern, and this interference pattern is defined by all these math constants.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts rattling off this number, and I literally am dying because I'm like, that's the one math constant. In my book, I wrote about it and said, this number, I believe, is profound, relationship to time itself. And I named it Grant's constant. It's the one that I've named after me. Like, it wasn't even so much that I would tell the rest of the world, because I haven't even done that. It's just that I thought I need to remember this one above all others. And then literally he channeled that in that exact number.
Have you ever watched the movie The Last Mimsy?
Mm-mm.
Okay. It's a great family movie. It's really cute. But the story is this scientist from the future sends a doll back in time, and these kids find it, and they're on Woodby Island. And it comes with some like rocks and kind of like crystal thing. And so the kids find it on the beach, and they're little. This little girl is like, I don't know, 4, 5, and then the boy maybe 7. And the doll, it's like a little bunny, starts talking to the girl and tells the girl that in the future the people are dying, and that the scientist has sent this doll to collect something that it needs from the past so that the future can be saved. And so this little girl is like telling, the family, the parents, and at first they're like, oh, that's so cute. And then at the same time, the boy starts playing with these rocks. And then the little girl is like, hey, Mimsy's telling me that you're supposed to do this with them. And so she grabs it and she spins one of the rocks, and it like comes alive, and it creates this like geometric like vortex. Anyways, long story short, you got to watch the movie. It's like pretty amazing. But you guys remind me of those kids, because she sees in the book that one girl had the same Mimsy doll. And it was a book that was a story from the past. And she was like, she didn't have you, when she's telling her brother. And he's like, what do you mean? It was like, you're my engineer. And I don't know why, but I always think about you and Matthias in that way. He's like receiving the information, and you're like the engineer that like understands the whole like mathematical part of it. It's just, it is so cool. It definitely feels like you're like fully living right now. You know, we were talking the other day about Indiana Jones world. You're in the Indiana Jones world, and it's like has become a reality in our world. And I am just so excited about the things that are going to start to be uncovered, especially in Egypt. And I feel like you guys have, I mean, both of you have played such huge roles in the whole Egypt thing, at least for me personally. So it's just, it's amazing to watch. When I saw you guys met and you're coming together and you're starting to work together, I was like, oh my God, here we go. Here we go.
Oh yeah, no, it's a trip. And so I was with him last week in southern Egypt, and I told him, I said, I have to leave a day early from, you know, we were having these meetings, and they were going to go one more day, and I said I got to go up, and I'm meeting with the director general of the Giza Plateau, and I told him that I think I know where there might be a fourth and fifth pyramid on the Giza Plateau. And he's like, yeah, go. And so while I was at the Giza Plateau, they connected to me, he and, you know, a whole group of people connected to me through meditation. And during that time, I discovered 2 new pyramids that were hidden in the sand.
Amazing.
And this is not coincidence. And it felt like so ridiculous that nobody had looked and found this stuff. It literally felt like a Mandela effect, which is the exact same feeling I had when I discovered the Alpha Omega and the sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid. And this was put there when it was constructed. And there are some people that I do have respect for that say, no, this was done by Knights Templar or whatever. It wasn't. I know exactly when it was done. I was there. That's how I remembered it. That's how I found it. I remembered being there when it was put there because I put it there.
Yeah. And okay, this pointing to another really amazing thing that's happening right now. All of us that are like drawn to this, especially the whole Egypt thing, but really everywhere, occult knowledge, hermetic alchemy, understanding that whole process, laws of the universe, like all those things. I do believe that we were all there together.
We were.
And now we're like, we came right at this time at the cusp of this great age to help remember, like to remember.
Yeah, it's like
I think we're just
we
remembering.
came 13,000 years ago. We left ourselves clues by leaving here. We were from higher dimension. We left ourselves clues in alchemy and astrology and the calendar systems and the measurement systems and everything in a tapestry of interconnectedness that only polymathic thought and approaches to things would be able to find it. It's like an encryption so complex.
Right?
It's an encryption through time.
Yes. And it's an awakening. What do you feel is?
In fact, it's a type of encryption. It's a type of encryption. I'm a cryptographer. It's a type of encryption that's called a one-time pad.
What does that mean?
It's a type of, you've probably seen OTP encryptions. These are one-time pads that are associated. There's another, it's like a homomorphic one-time pad. That's what this is. A homomorphic one-time pad. So you're leaving encryptions that are intended only for certain recipients, and that those certain recipients would have to go through a conscious expansion in order. So it's like been left in higher dimension. So that encrypted information, the cipher text, has been left in the 5th or 6th dimensional frame. And only one who is able to go and transcend being right and choose love instead will be able to find the encryption left to himself from higher dimension.
Oh my God. Yes.
Or herself.
Yes.
Did you know that there's a new love affair with mathematics and geometry happening all around the world today? People who once despised these subjects in high school are now finding they're falling in love with them. Do you know why? Because math without meaning is simply information, whereas math with meaning is divine communication. My courses, The Etymology of Number and The Language of Light, guide you on a journey of self-discovery, sharpening your problem solving and pattern perceiving, as well as analytical and creative thinking, and unlocking your fullest polymathic potential. And most importantly, acquainting you with the mathematical language of the universe itself. You will never see the U inverse the same again. To get started, I recommend The Etymology of Number, a 4-part series that explores the evolution of numbers and their impact on fields like physics, chemistry, music, and art. It is the embodiment of Leonardo da Vinci's encouragement to study the science of art and the art of science. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. My second course series, The Language of Light, is a 6-part series that builds on concepts from the first course and offers deeper insights into unified sciences, ancient wisdom, spirituality, and their relevance to today. My courses are always fun and easy to understand. They intertwine mathematics, music, art, and consciousness, and illuminate the mathematical connections that span all disciplines of science and art. Register for these 2 courses, Etymology of Number and The Language of Light, at robertedwardgrant.com under the Courses tab. And join the Robert Edward Grant community chat on Orion Messenger for lively, engaging, and innovative discourse.
And that's what we're doing. We're literally finding all of these things that we left to ourselves for this exact moment in time to be ready for at exactly this stage where this couldn't have been even perceived by us at different stages in the Earth's history until the Earth was at the plane and basically on the north side of the ecliptic and the galactic disk, so that we could actually access this type of information and be able to perceive the patterns.
The question is why?
Because it's time. Because it's time for a transition in the game. And we had to come here 13,000 years ago, which was 13,000 years ago. The precessional cycle is 24,000 years. But the reason why 13,000 becomes so salient in this context is because in the long cycle, time goes slower. In the short cycle, as we get closer to Sirius A, our sister star, it goes faster.
Mm-hmm.
So we have something called time-space dilation, or mass-time dilation.
Yeah.
And that's why we have an 11,000-year half cycle and for the next 11,000 years. And the last 13,000 years was, the last half cycle. And every 6,000 years, approximately, we have a cataclysm.
Yeah.
And the last one we had was 6,000 years ago. Which, every culture has a gigantic flood myth.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what's up. This is a cycle that we go through every 6,000 years.
There's so many questions, so many questions. I feel like the more you know, the less you know.
Well, that's what I have on my Instagram page. That's my quote on my Instagram page. Kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
I'll show you something that one of my friends, who's a big skeptic, his name is Larry Paul. He's an Egyptologist. He runs he's the director of the American Institute, Pyramid Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a post this morning that I thought was quite interesting because it was about Orion. I'll pull it up. It's on Sage Silent. Here we go. All right. So it's the very first one on here. All ancient civilizations lived in awed fear of Orion. So Da Vinci knew, The Last Supper painting is the King's Chamber. These are the etchings in the walls that are about to be seen all over the place in Codex 2. But Orion's biggest warning is meant for us now. And he's pointing to 2029, which is when Apophis is going to come super close to Earth. And also pole shift. All ancient civilizations lived in awe and fear of Orion. Egyptians placed pyramids in his honor, not just Egyptians, but all over the world.
Yes.
I just discovered the 2 new pyramids because of the relationship of all the other pyramids. And guess what? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm about to discover another pyramid. I already know exactly where it is in Mexico.
No. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. So exactly in the same spot where there were extra pyramids in Giza, there's another one in the same exact spot in Teotihuacan, Mexico. And I found it on satellite. Now it's easier to look at satellite stuff. This one kid in college discovered a whole civilization in Guatemala and in Mexico area. If you saw this, it just came out.
Yes, I actually saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and so I started looking, okay, well, if there's extra pyramids in Giza, if I took the exact same overlay and did it for Mexico City and Teotihuacan, which is Tehuti, which is Thoth, would I find another pyramid? And sure enough, you see the satellite photography, you can literally see a pyramid underneath the ground. It's like you would never see it if you were standing on top of it.
That would make a third one?
It'd make a 4th pyramid.
4th.
And there's probably very likely a 5th as well in Teotihuacan, Mexico. And there's already 4. Part of the reason why I got this hunch was because I looked at the Chinese pyramids in Xi'an, China, and found that it already had 4 pyramids.
I wonder what.
So I'm like, wait, it's an Orion's Belt formation. It's got 4 pyramids. So then I thought, well, if China has 4 pyramids here, then might there be another pyramid in Giza? And then I found the cartographers were basically leaving maps that had 5 pyramids. So there were 5.
What do you think the significance of the 5 is? Or do you think there's more?
I know exactly what it is. And I could share it with you if you're interested.
Yeah.
Basically, it is, and I just discovered this, it's all related to music.
Oh my God.
It's all music. It's all music, just like the zodiac is. It's all beautiful music. It's simple and great. And I'll show it to you. I'm just gonna. Okay, here we go.
Music.
Oh, this thing is starting to drive me crazy. I really, sometimes Riverside just drives me nuts. I'm just trying to get a smaller screen. It's not even letting me minimize the screen. It wants to take over. So, so anyway, I was on the plane coming back from being in Dubai and stuff. And while I was there, or on the way back, I realized that, okay, now I've discovered these 2 other pyramids. Might there also be a clue as to what the slope angle of those pyramids should be? And then I realized, okay, I've got it. I know exactly what it is. And it happens to be right in here. So I'd already discovered there's a relationship between each pyramid's slope angle and the pyramid's placement and why it's there.
I love that. Yeah. Speaking of music, I sing and write my own songs. And one of the things that I did recently, I play them on my YouTube channel, but one of the things that I did recently is I tuned my guitar to 432 instead of the regular, and it transformed like the songs. I'm like not going back.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't.
No.
You shouldn't. In fact, you want to go to the next level, and go to precise temperament tuning.
Right.
And that will turn on your DNA.
Dude.
And that's the tuning standard that I worked on, and now orchestras are tuning to and everything. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Okay, so this is something I've not shown anyone. This was just on the airplane.
Ooh.
Coming back. Okay, you see this?
Oh my God. Mm-hmm.
So what is this? So basically, I noticed there was a pattern. So these are the 3 pyramids of Giza that everyone knows, right? So this is Menkaure. Its height is 216 feet, and its 1/2 base is 172.8. That relationship is exactly 5/4.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in music, you would have a triangle could represent a musical interval relationship. As a musician, you would know that's called a major third.
Mm-hmm.
It's da, da, just like that. But I could invert this, and instead of taking 5/4, which is the height over 1/2 the base, I could take the full base and make it over the height, which goes from da, da to da, da. That's a minor 6th. Da, da. And when we listen to that, we think heartbreak. And when we listen to da, da, that's romantic love. Da, 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 just like that. So depending on how I'm looking at this pyramid, I can look at the architecture of this pyramid and say, wow, that's a beautiful piece of art. It makes me feel love. Or if I've just gone through a heartbreak, I would look at it and say, oh, it's depressing, because I'm looking at it from a glass half empty perspective. But it also says to us that in every experience of love is the seed of heartbreak. It's already there. And the only difference between da, da, and da, da, they're both C and E note, and then E and high C note. The only difference between the two is time. The order of what they're played in, and then the other next note goes from low C to middle to high C, or middle C to high C. That's it.
It's kind of like I'm getting the play between the shadow and the light, that within every light, there's a shadow. Within every shadow, there's a light. And that's why
right.
The eagle becomes the scorpion. It has to close its eyes and go within and find the light from within that actually lives within in the darkness.
Yeah. So let's say that we have here, right at the root, we have at the root chakra, right? We then want to take it up to, from, the unison note C. So da, and then we're going to take it up to the major third, which becomes the 5/4 relationship. So whatever your unison note is, it could be 432, and then 5/4 times 432 is going to give us the exact note at that point in the scale. So that's going to be 1.25 times 432, right? That's 540. Now, if we were using C note, then it would be like 504 times 1.25 is going to give us an E note of 630 hertz, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the da, da. But at the same time, we reverse time, and it goes da, da. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now, what is the relationship of this Menkaure pyramid? The relationship is, right, that Menkaure would actually be along this system, starting with C down here. It's going to take it all the way up, right, to E. So here's the E, right? And the major third, which is right here, the 5/4 relationship. And its inverse is G sharp. Because that makes a new relationship, right? So the E and the G sharp, because this becomes 8/5. 8/5 times the C note beginning of the root chakra is going to give us the G sharp.
Dude.
Pretty cool, right?
Wow.
So now what you start realizing is, wait a minute. Every note and every pyramid is tied to this. So you've got 5/4 is Menkaure, the smallest pyramid, even though these are not the size proportions of them, right? So you see the Menkaure is the smallest pyramid, and Khafre is the second largest, and the Great Pyramid is largest. But on here, they show up the smallest,
right?
Because it's all about ratio. And what causes this to get a 51.34-degree angle. And Khafre Pyramid is a 4/3, and that's why it has a 53.13-degree angle. And the Great Pyramid is 2/1 pi. So we have 5, 4, 3, literally 5, 4, 4/3, and then its inverse is 6/4, which is equal to 3/2. So we've got perfect fourth and perfect fifth in that pyramid, which means stability and loyalty. And then you go to the diminished fifth, which is the square root of 2/1. And that's related to the Great Pyramid. You take the circle from the base of the pyramid up to the top of the pyramid, you inscribe a square within that, and now you've begun the hero's journey. That's why it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 pi. It's going through a cycle of life. So then you would expect that the other two pyramids are going to have slope angles that are going to be 6/5 and 9/8, which is going to give us the minor third and the major sixth, the major second, and the minor seventh.
Whoa.
So then the last one is the entire Giza Plateau itself. If I include all 5 pyramids, it creates a perimeter that's exactly 25/24, which is the minor second and major seventh. So then, okay, looking at this, I thought this looks really strange. So you're starting from C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. The augmented fifth is the same, augmented fourth is the same as the diminished fifth. So F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. Of course, all the places I say A sharp could also be B flat, right? I could put B flat on here. That just confuses everybody except for the musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this mean? Because what if I turn this upside down? Now look at that. What do you have here? These look like snakes.
Oh my God. Wow.
The Giza Plateau is a gigantic art installation that has encrypted the staff of Hermes.
Oh my God.
And all the chakras within it and their musical notes and the other chakras that they're connected to. So each side of these, that means that you literally have 24 chakras because you got male and female forms of all of these.
Wow.
And then you have 24-strand DNA. And it's all a symphony within your own body. And the last proportion is forming the wings.
My God. That's insane.
I thought you'd like that.
That's insane. Thank you for showing me that. Wow. I was telling you.
It is so beautiful, this world. It's so freaking beautiful. It's like we can miss it all if we just don't stop to recognize its majesty and perfection.
So true. Don't ever stop.
No, definitely don't. All these things are just hidden aspects of us.
Keep going. Because
and you're helping people like me. Because as you helped me, so I encourage anybody, if you've got some special knowledge, whatever, go ahead. You've got all my information. Please do my thing and figure me out in your, whatever your language is. It's highly valuable to me because as I learn myself better, I'm able to connect to my extreme authenticity more. By connecting my extreme authenticity, I become more vulnerable. As I become more vulnerable, I become more magnetic as well, because anyone who's vulnerable becomes magnetic. And the magnetism extends not just to human relations, but it extends to everything, all the things you need to know to crack the code of your life.
Sat Nam. Incredible.
So what else would you like to tell us, Jai?
Oh man, I don't know. That's pretty magical for the last, like, I don't know, 20 minutes. I kind of just feel like crying because it's like it's just so beautiful. Like you said, life is amazing. And the more that you tune into that frequency, it's like the more magic you're going to see in the world. And I am just so grateful. And, when you reached out to me, I was like, what is happening right now? And that little voice inside my head was like, oh my God, this can't be real. It can't be real. And then the true voice was like, if it wasn't real, if it wasn't in alignment, it wouldn't be here. It wouldn't be here. And I was like, that's right. So then I was like, let's go, the experience that you had with like having someone who's famous, like Katy Perry or anybody really, come to you and be like, you're amazing. And then I had that same experience with you coming to me. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? This is crazy. But I have been, through this experience and this like such beautiful and in synchronistic invitation for me as a projector has really taught me and shown me, like, this whole experience, that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and freaking so blown away and kind of humble, and like you said, just feeling like super open and grateful. So thank you.
Thank you for following your intuition to do this and to analyze me in such depth the way that you did, that I watched it 30 times because I was hanging on every word, because you're clearly an expert in what you do. And I really loved, I've had other people do astrological readings on me, but no one else combined all of these different aspects. And my very strong recommendation to anyone and everyone is to, if you're doing these things, go after the combination of them. Include numerology and cardiology. There's a few other design systems that you can also learn and figure out how to integrate all of it. The tarot deck. It is all part of this incredibly beautiful symphony or prism of this larger truth, that the only thing that's important after all is the love that underlies it all.
I'm literally crying. Amazing. I always say Satnam. You know what Satnam means?
Sat means truth.
Nam means name. Truth is my name. Truth is who I am. It just like flows out of me. Satnam. Such a beautiful,
Satnam.
beautiful experience.
Wow. So it is, and keep doing what you're doing, and do it for other people too. And I'm sure, like you said, okay, we got his birth time now. We could write this up. We could do this,
Exactly. Yeah. No, and you're inspiring me to keep going, because it's kind of like, oh, you're going to put this out there. It's like, what if you're wrong,
No, I think you need to do it on Zach Bush. All these people that, I'll tell you a funny story. I'll tell you a funny story. So I was at the Gene Keys thing, and like all these people were coming up to me and they're like, Robert, we're a big fan of your work and everything. And they wanted to meet me. And it got a little overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. Right. Because I couldn't even go to the bathroom. There was like 1,000 people at this conference. So I was thinking, I'll just, not my conference. So I could just be an attendee, just like everybody else. And this is going to be great. I can be my hermit and listen to all this stuff, because I think Richard's stuff is genius, like genius. Yes. And so I was like, just kind of hiding out. Well, of course, that didn't work, because he announced me kind of right in the beginning. And he's like, and Robert's been working on new DNA as well. He's figured out how to ionize silicon so that it can, be combined now in a molecular structure that has greater tensegrity and, all this stuff. And it was like, wow. So then I get inundated afterwards with all these people waiting and wanting to take photographs and all this stuff. And
celebrity status.
And so it was a little overwhelming. And so you know what I said?
What?
I would just throw in every other sentence kind of quietly, and I just say, So, yeah, I just flew here. Everything is great. Matthias is Jesus. And then, whatever.
Oh my God, I can't. Oh my God.
And they'd be like, what did you say? I'm like, Matthias is Jesus. And they'd be like, what's that got to do with anything? It's like, so I told Matthias that, right? I'm like, dude, that's what I do. I'm just going to get them on your trail because I don't want to be that.
Oh my God. That's freaking hilarious.
Yeah. I'll take Indiana Jones. I'll take, but dying on a cross is not in my future.
Oh my God. There you go.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. He died laughing when I told him that. He's like,
I'm sure he did.
So now I just did it. Now I just did it for even more people.
I love it. I love it. That's the best part of it all. It's like when you can laugh at it, and like that is where you find the true magic.
Yeah, like I said that this morning on the live that I did. Is like everybody needs to just fucking chill the fuck down and like lighten the fuck up. It's like lighten the fuck up and chill the fuck down. That's basically what it is.
It's true. Thank you for the reminder, man. That I feel that. I need to hear that too. For reals.
Yeah, like we need to light it up. It's like, oh man, it's been so heavy. It's like, dude, I can't take it anymore. And now it's just like I laugh all the time because I'm like watching. It's like, the White House saying, "Well, these drones are not from our military or from any other military on Earth." I was like, and the guy's like, "So you're saying it's from off planet then?" Well, we can't really go that far as saying that, but it's not your military and it's not other militaries. So where the fuck is it from? And I'm just laughing because I'm like, here we go again. This is such a joke. It's becoming comical.
Right? It is.
It's just comical.
Yeah.
Someone needs to do a defund the government campaign and just like end it now.
It's so true. Oh my God.
Seriously though. Anyway, Jai, what a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for all that you're doing. Please keep doing what you're doing. You inspired me, and that has led to countless more downloads of information, in some way, even finding things like the two pyramids. It's only when we start to know who we are, and this is the famous words of Socrates, know thyself. It's only when we start to know who we are and become entirely comfortable with being that person that we can make the transition from human doing to human being.
Yes.
And it's interesting because, I was in Egypt and I was at this conference and it was called the Apis conference. Apis makes me always think of the Apis bull, which is Osiris, and it's Orion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And my logo is on top of the Apis bull on the north wall of the King's Chamber, which again is like ridiculous, right? It's like, give me a break. It's like, I even got video of that. I got to show you this because it's so ridiculous.
As if it wasn't quick enough. As if you hadn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was just there, so I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me. So, there we go. I was just in Egypt, and of course, I'm in the King's Chamber. And this woman that was in there, who's friends with Matthias, she looked at me and she's like, "You're Robert Grant." I go, "Yeah, I am." So we took pictures together right in there. And let's see if I find it. Yeah, here we go. This is epic. All right, why is this not giving my computer? Hello.
It's technology just making life simpler.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, totally right. Everything just is as it should be, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Orion is unique. No algorithms, no propaganda, and no exploitation. Just end-to-end quantum secure data. Messages, groups, and shared media behind a wall of next-generation encryption.
I gotta say, this is the freaking coolest way for the year to end for me. Like, it's like, what is happening? I don't know, but I'm freaking along for the ride. Let's go.
Let's go. Right, exactly.
When I was little, I used to freaking love roller coasters.
Yeah?
And now I feel like that's, when I finally started living in my design, I feel like I'm on this crazy roller coaster ride that's just been epic. It's high, it goes low, it's all over the place, but it's a freaking amazing ride.
It really is an amazing ride. When we let it be, it's like, I just can't. It's so amazing that it's not more amazing than we had thought or could conceive. It's more amazing than we ever possibly could ever conceive. That's the thing. This world is so bizarrely amazing, and we are just like living in it like muggles, and we don't even know. It's really true.
It is true. Come on.
Why my thing is not
wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
Come on, wake up, dude. Okay, here we go. It's come up now. Okay, good. All right. So this is just a few days ago.
Horace is over here walking.
So this is on top of, right, literally on top of the north wall in the King's Chamber.
All right, this light is killing it. You see this right here? It's a diamond. It's a diamond. Right? And then another diamond here. Like this. It's together with the bull. The bull is like this. Right? Here's the bull, and here's the cow, Hathor. Right? Around. This is the baby bull. But this is the same as my logo.
So that's the Apis bull. So you can see right here, you see this line?
Mm-hmm.
It's a linear line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the shape also, not only is it a diamond, but it's the shape of an hourglass.
Yeah, I see that.
And then another one down like this. This is the alchemical symbol for Orion. So this will be one of the zodiac symbols.
Oh my God.
Right here. You see the inverted one right here?
Yeah.
And then there's a line that comes across right here. And this is like white. And this inverted one is black. And there's writing on here too. I can't read what it says, but there's writing right
like
along here. You can see like letters.
Octahedron?
Say again?
Like the inverted octahedron, like the two pyramids.
Yeah, there's an octahedron right here. You see the octahedron?
Yes. Yes.
Right here. It's another diamond shape right in the center where the two overlap, which is exactly my freaking logo, right? It's like that.
Right, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Whoa.
So Dolores Cannon said there are hidden things on the walls of the Great Pyramid that no one would see them until the right person came along that had the right auric geometry matching the hidden part. Then they'd be able to see it and use it in our time frame. That's exactly what she said. And I didn't know any of that. She died 10 years ago until someone sent it to me last year. I'd already known this. But I didn't know that she ever said that. And I made my logo of this well before I ever discovered it on the wall.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
But this is the Apis bull it's on top of. Well, the Apis bull has this name Apis that also means bees in the Greek language. Now, Greece and Egypt were together for a long time. They were like one country, you could say, during the Ptolemaic period. The bees are representing Corona Borealis, which is above Ophiuchus in the zodiac. So Ophiuchus gets tame control of his snakes, And when he does, he saves Orion through the ego death. Orion gets stung by a scorpion. And when he does get stung by the scorpion, Ophiuchus helps him with the staff of Asclepius, which is the staff with the snake. When I was in Peru, this guy just came up to me and randomly gave me a staff with a snake wrapped around it. And he said, I got this for you on top of that mountain. Somebody told me to give it to you. And I'm like, what? I just had people give me gifts like this the whole time. It was insane. So then Ophiuchus takes on the crown. So it's the shadow of Orion that is becoming resurrected. And he takes on the Corona Borealis because Corona Borealis is right on top of the Ophiuchus. Wow. And it's the shape of a beehive. And when we do this thing, you might have seen this before, where people go like this, right? And you plug up your ears and do this, and you go like this sound, and it buzzes your pineal gland.
Whoa.
And it makes it go ring. It rings, and it's like, and you're like, whoa. It's wild. Try it. It's amazing. It's like, I'm not doing this correct, but it's like something like this. That's right. It's like this.
We gotta
and you just go, you try to do this. You plug up your nose to do it, and you just go, find this right pitch, and it rings your pineal gland, and it's really crazy.
I gotta try it.
Now, you got to try it. So the point is this. The word apis is the word for the bull in Egyptian. The word apis is the word for bees in Greek. And what I finally realized was that it's actually the same thing. It's just looking at it from different perspectives. The apis bull is the symbol of hard work. It's the symbol of labor.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of doingness, making things manifest, bringing them into material form. And this is the lower consciousness until we finally learn how to transcend the hierarchy of needs. Because we no longer perceive the scarcity. We're no longer on the hamster trail. And we finally learned how to fall in love with who we are. Not just an aspect of ourselves, which only creates narcissism, but if you don't really know your dark aspects, then how can you truly love yourself? That's just false. So you have to know your darkness, be aware of your darkness, and then that unlocks this new stage of human being.
Do you know bees, right? Like every bee in the hive has a very specific purpose, like a job that they have to do. Like there's some bees that they got to go get the water. Some bees do the pollinating the flowers. Some bees take care of, like they take the water that the bees that brought the water in and they give it to the baby. Some of the bees are like the babysitters for the baby bees. Some of the bees are just there to take care of the queen. But every single one of the bees has a specific purpose. And they just do it. And when they're all doing their one little individual purpose, like just to a T as what they are, the whole hive just buzzes in this cosmic collective consciousness that is like alive and has like in itself a mind, a consciousness of its own. But if one bee doesn't do what they're supposed to do, that'll throw that out of sync.
Yeah. Absolutely. Everyone has to do their part. And so everyone's got their own role.
Right.
And learning to fall in love with their role. It's not like the bees are sitting there saying, oh, I wanted to be the one that serves as the queen. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, the bees are what they are because they're comfortable with what they're supposed to be doing. That's what their role is.
Exactly.
And instead of fighting against it because society values leaders and they value these other things, then just fall in love with who you actually are and be at one and comfortable with that. And then you can go from human doing into human being.
Yes.
And that was the big realization that I had, that it was time for the apis bull to put away the doingness. We don't become worthy by accomplishing anything. Worthiness, we have to change our way of thinking about it, is simply a birthright of who we are. Lots of people think that I have to accomplish this and then I'll be worthy, then I'll be good enough. No. You're good enough just because you were born.
Yes. Yes.
Let it go. And behind this diamond on the wall, I've seen it in the astral. There's a large garnet crystal.
Wow.
That connects in and has to end up going under the Sphinx to the Hall of Records, and that heart that's behind the diamond heart, gene key 8. Find the diamond heart and use that heart as the heart of the lion. It's the Coeur de Lion. It's the Regulus. The heart of the lion is the Regulus and makes the king the king.
That's your life's work. The 8 in your gene keys. That
I know
is your life's work sphere.
And I would have not known that. If you hadn't done that.
Wow.
You never know how profound what you're doing when you take a risk and what it can lead to and what it is. So I want to thank you.
You're welcome. Such a powerful and beautiful reminder of be in your essence, be who you are, be who you came here to be.
We all have different roles. It's time for us just to learn to accept that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are.
Mm-hmm.
And fall in love with that experience.
Satnam.
Thank you, Jai. Such a pleasure to have you here. This is a different kind of podcast. It was more, I want to just thank you and bring you along on my journey and the role that you played in that journey. Inadvertently, you didn't even realize it. You probably thought you were making that for people other than me.
Yeah. Did you know that every one of the videos that I made, though, the person that I made it about actually did see it, except for Matthias, and then they shared it, and I was like, whoa. It was crazy.
I'm going to make sure Matthias watches it. I'm going to send it to him.
Okay. But I am so grateful. Thank you so much. This has truly been beyond what I could have ever imagined.
Thank you, Jai. And for people that want to find you and find your work and everything, how best can they find you? How can they hire you? How can they do whatever to learn about themselves in this very, very unique and powerful way?
So I on Instagram and at Channel for Grace. Same thing on YouTube. Same thing on my website, channelforgrace.com. My most comprehensive program that I offer is the Moon Goddess Training, and the next one starts in January on the new moon in Aquarius, and it's actually the year of the Earth Snake, the Chinese zodiac, which I'm really excited about. So that's if you really want to dive deep. And I offer readings, all different kinds of readings. You can check my website for all the availability. But I mean, it would be my honor to work with anyone that feels called and aligned to work with me. And I thank you for the opportunity for letting me share that.
Thank you. All right. Well, until next week on Think Tank, everyone have a great week. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And, the one encouragement I like to give to everybody is this Christmas season, do 10 acts of random kindness and express gratitude every day, and you will see a dramatic shift in your life. Do beautiful and nice things for people with no expectation of what they will give you back in return, and you will see your life blossom like a rose. Have a great day, everyone, and Merry Christmas.